Hi and welcome back to the channel. Today guys, we are going to be talking about Cardano. A few interesting things have occurred over the last 24 hours and I thought I'd take the opportunity to explain what's going on in the news for ADA. Alright guys, as I get into today's video, if you do find it useful and informative, smash that like button. I do appreciate that. If you are new to the channel, then why not go ahead and subscribe, tap the bell, select all the notifications, and in doing so, you will be kept up to date with all the videos that we do here at Cheeky Crypto. So let's start talking around what is going on with Cardano. So specifically what we're talking about here are warped transactions. This is basically removing the ADA fee that you would normally have to send whilst you're transferring NFTs from one wallet to another. Typically when you send a non-fungible token from one wallet to another, you have to send a little bit of ADA with it, about 1.14 ADA specifically. Now, these new warped transactions essentially remove that from the requirement, and what this does is it allows you to basically transfer non-fungible tokens, NFTs, by using both the sender and receiver to confirm those transactions, basically omitting the need to send 1.14 ADA. In fact, the 1.14 ADA actually comes from the receiving wallet, so essentially it's received by the receiver and sent by the receiver. Or sent by the receiver essentially and received by the receiver, and basically omitting the idea or the requirement of basically sending it. Okay, now these warped transactions for Cardano, they are they last basically 24 hours, right? So if you send a transaction, and this is only on the Typhoon wallet, by the way, as well, guys, right? But if you were on the Typhoon wallet and you were to send one of these transactions, you have a 24-hour window for the receiver to confirm that transaction, okay? So this is pretty interesting stuff for the UTXO model, and I think it's going to be something that maybe, we start to see a little bit more of for Cardano. So I think this is going to be pretty good. It's going to allow for an increase in throughput, lower fees, and all that kind of wonderful stuff. Now, on that note, we should probably talk a little bit around price action as well. So for Cardano, we have, of course, seen the all-time high of $3.10 back in 2021. We are currently 91.7% down from that all-time high. And that can be quite worrisome for some people, right, who got into Cardano maybe a little bit, late in 2021 and are pretty heavy down. Now, for the most part, some people will tell you that Cardano's ecosystem looks dead. I completely disagree. I think Cardano's ecosystem is actually flourishing. We've got lots of development and it's stronger now than it ever has been in the past. We see loads of dApps, we see loads of total value locked growing and so forth, right? So being 91.7% down doesn't worry me in the slightest. But we have, of course, seen some negativity with that price action slipping to the downside. And we can't ignore these facts either. So, for example, we can, of course, acknowledge that we have, in fact, seen 83% of long positions getting wiped out in the last 24 hours and 17% of short positions getting wiped out in the last 24 hours. This can be a little bit worrying for those people who are using leverage. Maybe they're using a bit too much on the number of X's that they're using in leverage terms, and maybe not using proper risk management and so forth. But for the most part, spot continues to remain relatively strong. Yes, price action has been moving down, but for the most part, we actually see a lot of accumulation happening for Cardano, right? So, for example, we see 2,831 wallets that have over 1 million ADA in them. So we see pretty strong growth there. We see that there's 24,649 wallets that have over 100,000 ADA in them. So we know that there's a lot of accumulation happening as price is correcting to the downside. And, this has actually given me a lot of strength and confidence in the ecosystem as a whole. I think this is actually a positive sign that we see accumulation at this level. And it gives us hope that actually the future is very, very bright for ADA. We see total value locked, as I mentioned earlier, growing quite steadily. 600 million ADA is locked up. And I think that is growing exponentially as well. So, for the most part, I'm very, very happy to see all these recent developments with Cardano. I think it's proving how strong of an ecosystem it is. But let's go back to the studio and check out what's going on with the technical analysis on ADA as well. Okay guys, let's jump down into the technical analysis for ADA. So here we have ADA paired up with USDT. We're using the BitGet spot exchange here. And so let's just reflect on the recent movements on this 1 hour time frame and then progress up into the larger time frames, right? So we can see here that we did actually have a slight structural change right here. This change of characterization takes us from our bearish structure into a bullish structure. Okay, now that can be a false flag. And it can sometimes be very valid. Now, the overarching structure here is actually bearish, so I think this is going to be a false flag for us, and there's going to be a couple reasons why. So if we take a look, we have our C wave high. We'll just do our sense checks to see and make sure that everything there is aligned to our expectations with where this should have gone. And yes, we come up to the 1-to-1, so that is absolutely fine. So we can start to think of this as complete with our C wave structure here. So it's just a basic three-wave pattern. And then we start this breakdown. Now, this break to the downside, as we can kind of see right here, is actually looking like it's completed a 1-to-1. So again, just a three-wave pattern straight off the bat there. So it's a simple kind of 1, 2, 3 structure. Now, it's possible that this turns into something a little bit more than that, but we'll keep a close eye on it. It hasn't kind of gone down to any kind of concerning levels from the Fibonacci sequencing level. Okay, so for the most part, not too concerned there. Now, the concerns do come in, though, when we are below the 200 EMA and we're below the 50 EMA. Okay, so that's really obvious there that we have got a problem. One, we moved up to and failed to hold above the 200 EMA. We got rejected there. We came down to the 50 EMA and we couldn't hold it. We lost it, and we've just come up and retested it as resistance right on equilibrium. At the same time as this is happening, we also have a high stochastic RSI. So we're getting confirmation of a move to the downside. This could be a potential shorting opportunity. To kind of go short on the market would go in entry here, so market level. We'd put our stop loss above this recent swing high on the 200 EMA, and we would target a new local low coming down here. It doesn't give us a good risk-reward ratio, so we probably want to hold out for this one and see if there's a better opportunity later. But you kind of get the idea here that it's not looking overly too strong, and we should be thinking about a short position for Cardano's ADA on the 1 hour time frame. Now, when we take a look at the daily time frame, we can still see that we're in our structure here for a 5-wave move to the downside. Okay, so we're inside our 5th wave essentially. That 5th wave is actually inside our 3rd wave. Okay, so at the moment we have this downward pressure where we're kind of targeting out more towards, let's go ahead and measure this out so we can be accurate about it. We're heading out towards the 20, what is that? That there is 22.8310 to 21.44, right? So right down here in this low area is where we're targeting out right now for a 5th wave movement, which is going to be our 3rd wave. Once this happens, we expect to bounce upwards, probably to the 50 EMA, and then another move to the downside, all of which would take us into a new low and a C wave structure being complete. I would look at this as a complete pattern at that particular point in time. Of course, things can change and adapt, but for now, it doesn't look strong. Now, I suspect we have further downside here into the target range before we get into the oversold area on the stochastic. And then once we're down there, we can have this move upwards from oversold to overbought on the stochastic RSI from wave 3 up into the wave 4 before dropping back into a final 5th wave movement. So for Cardano, I think we've got some great accumulative phases to appreciate, and new bear market lows I think are coming for ADA, and that is going to be a fantastic opportunity for those who want to accumulate more Cardano ADA in this bear market. From a weekly standpoint, we can, of course, see, if I bring up the stochastic RSI, we're oversold, but we've only just gone there. You can see that we're looking for a Z wave pattern. So we can see that C wave is a part of an ABC structure of a Z wave. And the Z wave is basically this WXYXZ pattern all the way from the all-time high. And so this does target out between 7.9 cent and 19.25 cent. However, I actually think we're going to land somewhere between 15.21 and 18.11, as this is a previous area of resistance turn support. So if we are likely to come on down into our 1-to-1 ratio on our C wave pattern, that will put us more towards the 18 cent area, which will be fine within the parameters of a Z wave pattern on the weekly time frame. So essentially everything is looking like it's actually coming up quite nice. Yes, we see some downward price pressure, right? We see, really bearish signs, but ultimately I think we're coming to the end of that bearish cycle for Cardano. We see some great fundamental developments, everything from from warped transactions through to Hydra and so many fantastic things. It's a stronger ecosystem now than it has been in 2021. We see so many dApps being built on the ecosystem. I think last time Charles Hoskinson was talking about this is about 1,200 dApps that are being built on the ghost chain that is Cardano. Of course, I jest. And, we see some fantastic developments with total value locked DeFi growing on the ecosystem. I think Cardano is poised to do incredibly well in that next bullish cycle. And we've spoken previously about where we think things can go. Obviously, we have some key areas that we're noting. And obviously, higher aspirations as well, up towards that $26. So, there's a good future here, but we do need to see things lining up nicely. We do need to see, supply shrink, as in through total value locked, and we need to see projects building on Cardano, bringing demand. Those two things as a recipe for success in the future. I'm going to leave this video right there, though, guys. If you have found it useful and informative, smash that like button. I do appreciate that. If you are new to the channel, then why not go ahead and subscribe, tap the bell, select all the notifications, and in doing so, you will be kept up to date with everything that we do here at Cheeky Crypto. Until the next one, though, guys, have a fantastic day.